You're listening to Richard Vobes.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Vobes Show, ladies and gentlemen. Was the Bald Explorer live, but now, ladies and gentlemen, it is the Vobes Show. I'll explain why we have changed in a moment. But welcome on the 21st of May 2018, here from jolly old Worthing in West Sussex. It's lovely to be back in the studio after a reasonably well-weathered weekend. Certainly here in Sussex, anyway. I don't know what it's been like where you are, obviously, because I don't happen to be all over the country. That would be daft if I was spending my whole weekend making sure I knew what the weather was doing every last place. That would be absolutely ridiculous. But anyway, here we are. This is the Vobes Show, and it's very similar to the Bald Explorer Live. And for the moment, ladies and gentlemen, it is actually broadcasting from the Bald Explorer page. But it's going to be moving. Yes, it's going to be moving to its own Facebook page called, believe it or not, The Vobes Show. And there's reasons for this I shall go into very shortly. But welcome to the show. It's very nice to see you, a Monday. Now, there'll be certain crossovers in the show to the stuff that we used to do, and there will be sort of new stuff that we'll do. And in time, that will all become apparent and hopefully will be ergonomic. Is that the right way? Ergonomic? I don't know what that really means, ergonomic. It will just sort of grow in its own natural fashion. Let's say that. Let's say natural fashion. It's a good word to say. So at the moment we've still got the same theme tune. We're going to be telling you that there are 669 members of the group, and at the end of the weekend I think it was something like 659. It's now so we've gone up by about 10 people over the weekend, which is fantastic. Hoping for the Bald Explorer group page. No, wait a minute. That's the two different things. The Bald Explorer group, that we get about 700. That's the target for the end of the month. So we haven't got too long to go, ladies and gentlemen. 28, it's, what is that? 30 days has September, April, June and November. 10 days. 10 days to recruit. What did I say? Oh, yeah, we need another 31. 31 people. Can we get them? Well, without the Bald Explorer Live, maybe that will happen. Marvellous, marvellous. Well, there we are. It's nice to have the old theme tune. Thank you, band. Thank you very much. It's very good. Let's see if there's anybody actually watching, and then we can get down to business, which is rather great. Yes, there are. And relief that there are comments. I always have this sort of moment of cross your fingers. Is Facebook working? It isn't the best platform for streaming shows out there, and I hope that in time Facebook are going to get their act together and really improve this for people like myself and probably tons of other people who are doing live shows where we can actually utilise the services a little bit better. Anyway, hello to Andy Ash, to Cassie Hastel, hello to you, to Cynthia Walder, to Mark English, to Malcolm Glazier, to Linda Kane, to Anne Osborne, to Terence Dackham, to Chris Puller, to Claire Leach, to Ian Beddoes, to Richard Suggett, to Paul Hine, to everybody who's coming along. It's so nice to see you. Now, funnily enough, my sister gave me a ring at the end of the week yesterday, and she said, how did you know I was watching? I hadn't made a comment. I hadn't made a single comment, and yet you were able to see that I had tuned in. And I said, well, you know, it's a family thing. It's that psychic vibes from the Vobes. So I was able to tune in and find out. But no, of course, I get notifications to say that you have joined, which is marvellous. Of course, I don't have that notification all the time. David Keel has arrived and said, hello, Richard. Hello to you. Malcolm Glazier has said, you said it, Richard, which is marvellous. Now, let me tell you about how we're going to do things in the future, or at least how I'm intending to do the things in the future, ladies and gentlemen, seeing as we're all gathered around the Vobe at the moment. So here it is. The reason I decided to change the format of this, and actually at the end of this week, we will move it, well, really at the beginning of next week, we will move the whole thing onto a new Facebook page called The Bald Explorer. And the point, called The Vobes Show. And the point of that is there are people who have discovered the walks that I do on YouTube and on Facebook, and they've discovered the Bald Explorer page, and then they've discovered the Bald Explorer group. And so, as a result of that, they're looking for the walks. And then what they get is this clown sitting here pontificating for an hour long to an invisible audience that nobody can see and wondering what it's about. So I thought that might put people off, might confuse them, and what would be better is to shove the show onto its own separate page, rebrand it, call it The Vobes Show, and it will sort of still be there to hold the community together on all the Bald Explorer projects and any other projects that I get up to. So that's really the reasoning behind it, because then those people who just want the sort of frivolous comedy nonsense, and we can talk about anything in this sort of show. It doesn't have to be to do with heritage and that sort of thing, or even walks. We can get up to all sorts of nonsense and still do the live shows, but we can still promote what goes on in the Bald Explorer. That's very important. Now, I noticed that Steve Pilfold says it may not be the best platform technically, and he's talking about Facebook, but it's certainly the best for audience building and general accessibility, and I completely agree with you there. This is where the audience is, excuse me, itchy nose, and I think we have to make do with what we've got. So, and that's what I'm basically doing. I have no intention of throwing the towel in from Facebook. I will still upload to YouTube. Now, if you're watching on YouTube and you're thinking, hello, I don't understand, you've changed the branding but you're still on the same channel. For the moment, the thinking goes that I'm going to still just upload this to YouTube and not actually set up another YouTube channel, because that is like moving ship completely. At least in Facebook, you're on the same deck, but you're in a different room or in a different cabin. But on YouTube, if it's almost like you've actually changed, if you have another channel, it's like you've actually gone onto another boat. So I think that's quite problematic. And also on my YouTube channel, as people will know, there's all sorts of stuff. There's stuff from my days as Snug and Cozy. There's stuff from earlier Bald Explorers. There's the walks that we do. There's stuff when my dad had dementia. And I've put them all into different playlists. And I think people, when you get notified on YouTube, you get it on your phone, and you just get told, oh, so-and-so's released a video, and you can see what it is. I think it's a very different animal than going onto a page on Facebook and having the branding slightly different to what you anticipate. Because the branding on the Bald Explorer stuff is basically the walks, and then the group is about, it's the walks and what the community is doing and the walks that you're going on and the places that you're visiting. And I just think the live stuff is not relevant there. That said, every now and again, I think there will be a live that is relevant to the Bald Explorer. For example, Saturday, the 26th of May, that's this Saturday at 3 o'clock British Summer Time, it will be a Bald Explorer live that comes to you in the afternoon on that Saturday, because the lovely Julia and I will be at the Regency Townhouse in Brunswick Square in Hove in East Sussex, broadcasting a heritage thing, a live event. It's an open day at the Regency Townhouse. This is the house that they're renovating, and they're opening up the doors to the public. There will be interviews with the volunteers who are there. There's going to be cooking demonstrations. There's access to the whole house, and there's little talks and stuff. We will be covering some of that in our live show, and we will be doing some interviews earlier on and playing them in. So that is a typical live Bald Explorer show, not a Vobes show. So that, hopefully that makes sense. Glenn Johnson says, keep the nuttiness, it's why I'm here. Glenn, I assure you there will be nuttiness and comedy. Today's show is just sort of a little bit different because it's, and probably throughout the week, is still just trying to make the transition. So it will be, a little bit semi-ordinary. And a bit barking as well. I mean, I can't say what I will be like, because anybody who's seen me for any length of time knows that I can go off on one and be daft and silly and barking, and then on another moment I can be sort of dead straight and remorse. So, well, not remorseful? No, I don't. Anyway, Maggie Walters tells me it's pouring with rain where she is. Excuse me, I just need, my throat's suddenly very dry after all that deeply exciting explanation. There we go. That's better. So I'm sorry about that. Now, of course, the Vobe show is still very much about feedback and about your comments and about what you're saying. That is the key thing, and I've been thinking about that. I want to make much more about that, and so that's why in the Vobe show I want to talk about more everyday things that are happening in the world or in the world around us. Not political stuff. I don't want to get into any of that nonsense. I don't want to go down the political front, but things that you might get up to and what might concern you. So, for example, I want to talk about DVDs. Are you still watching DVDs? Do you go out and buy DVDs? Is that how you consume your films and things, or box sets these days, when technology has moved on? Because DVDs are still, that's like standard def. And here we are with HD and 4K. And yet, I don't know, are people still watching DVDs? That's a question we'll come down to. Have you ever had a drink, a cup of tea with somebody, a stranger, off the internet? Is that something you've ever done? Have you met somebody off the internet that you've never seen before and taken a risk? Well, funny you should say that, because the lovely Julia and I are doing that tomorrow. We're going to be meeting one of the lovely listeners, well, viewers, to our walks. I don't know whether she actually watches the live show. I hope she does. But we're going round for a cup of tea. She's never met us before. We've never met her. It's going to be interesting. I've met Kevin Hall on this. We've met with Downsman Michael on this, which has been absolutely fantastic. And of course we've had the meetup where you met, a number of you met me, about 20 odd of you met me, which was fantastic. So I'm interested to know about that. We'll get onto these. You can comment, but I'm going to come back to them. Does that include Blu-ray? I suppose that is a DVD, isn't it? Well, that's what I would be interested to know. Maggie says she still watches DVDs and she still buys them. Well, we'll get on to, I want to know your favourite ones, but just hold that thought for a moment. And also, what else I'm going to talk about phones. Are you addicted to your mobile phone? The reason I'm interested in that, I watched a YouTube video where they were talking about how people are addicted these days to their smartphones, and it has something to do with the dopamine, the endorphins, is it the endorphins? That you get a rush, you get a sort of, where every time you get a message, and so you become addicted, and you cannot let, if the light starts flashing or the bleep comes up, you cannot let it go. You've got to get to the phone. You've got to see who it is, and there's that sort of reward thing. And so I'm interested in that. But we'll come back to that in a minute. If you've made your comments, you may need to copy and paste them back again so I get a chance to see them. I'm going to talk about how we can get the messages to me in a more clearer and better way as well as we go on. But first of all, like we used to do in the Bald Explorer, we still want the Vobing reporters. Now, this means that you can report on anything. You can report from your supermarket on the price of baked beans, if you like. We can have you talk. It doesn't have to be walks anymore. It can be anything. The Vobe show, you are the correspondents. It's all about the feedback. It's what you've been up to, and we want to know all about it. But as we hadn't sort of launched this quite yet, we do have Kevin Hall out and about. And I'm not quite sure where he is. I know he's out in Sussex. He's made a series of reports. So let's go to the first one and find out. Kevin, where are you and what are you up to?
Good morning, Richard, and everybody in the group. This is Kevin at the Chichester Marina. I've just parked the yacht up in the berthing bay, which you can see behind me. It's the great big white one. So Cynthia and I are down here. We're going to do the nature trail walk, which is the Salton Nature Trail. So we're going to be wandering about there for a while. The weather is fine with some clouds. but there's a bit of a chill breeze, so we've got tops on, etc. Just to keep us a little bit warmer. But we'll catch you later on, and we'll get some more filming done. Okay, bye for now.
Marvellous. Well, we look forward to finding out exactly how your walk progresses today down there in Chichester Harbour. So thank you, Kevin. If anybody would like to do a Vobing report, we'd be thrilled to hear from you. So do get in touch and let me know. My email address is richard@vobes.com. That's probably the best way to get in touch. So you can send me messages on Facebook, but it's so much easier to do it on an email, and Georgie, my lovely Georgie, will remind you how to do it.
Send an email to richard@vobes.com.
So now you know. Using the old Vobe show stuff that we used to do. So there we go. What did you say, George?
Send an email to richard@vobes.com.
That's exactly it. Good old Georgie. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, so I've had another postcard. Keep the postcards coming, because we want to fill up the cork board. This just goes to prove that the show is about community and doing it in the old-fashioned way where people write something and send it in. So here we go. Have a look at this. This is a lovely card here, and it says on there it's from East Carso, which I don't know how you pronounce that. Entre Carso. Says, this is from Pam McIntosh, who says, "Hi Richard, I thought I would send a postcard from my very pretty village full of history and heritage in the Var in the south of France. We have to fill up your cork boards now you've bought them. It's market day here, so we're very busy, and we have at last finally we have some sunshine. Best wishes from Pam McIntosh, your Var Vobing reporter." So thank you so much, Pam. That looks very splendid, doesn't it? I don't know what that building is, but it looks very nice. It's very important. So we're going to stick that on the board as we speak. And if you would like to send a postcard, and I know some of you have still got them en route, which is fantastic, you can send them to me. Now, the best thing to do is email me, and I will, by return, give you my address. That's probably the easiest way. Messaging, I don't always see the messages on Facebook, because some people send them to my personal thing, some send them to the Board Explorer page, and some get lost and I don't see them for ages. I would prefer the email.
Send an email to richard@vobes.com.
So we do this very easily. Shove it up over here. We are running out of space, mind you, ladies and gentlemen, but there we go. Look at that. Oh, up there somewhere. Never quite get it to fit, but never mind. It's up there now. There's still plenty of space for more postcards, and if it means I have to go back to Wilco's to buy another corkboard, so be it, ladies and gentlemen. So be it. Is that a lemon in the glass behind you, Richard? No, it's a lovely bunch of flowers. And next week, a bunch of coconuts. I have a Vobing report in editing at the Mo from the Portchester Castle, says Richard Suggett. I'm so thrilled. Actually, that is a place that I do want to go and do a report, but of course now I don't need to, which is fantastic. Emile Champion says, "Many primary children, all subjects and history specialists, plus secondary PE." You're obviously telling somebody else that. See, there is a delay when I do this, by the way. Just so if you don't realise, there's a slight delay. As I do the show, it takes about 30 seconds for the messages to come back. So let's see if we can prove. I don't know if we can prove that live. So as soon as I see the next message come up, I will read it, and then you can work out. Here we go. Steve Pilfold says, "No, the glad on your left." So however long that has taken. Oh no, well that's no good, because yes, we can't really. No, because I'm on the receiving end. I got that round the wrong way. Somebody needs to. Yeah, I don't know how you would work that out. Are you somebody, ladies and gentlemen, who finds the weather something that changes your mood. I generally don't overly find that, but today I felt that the weather pressures had changed. We've had some lovely weather, the weather pressures changed, and then all of a sudden we've had this sort of, I don't know, it's felt like it was going to be a thunderstorm coming or something, and I was in the most foul and gloomy moods. I couldn't shift it. I was excited that we're going to do the Vobe show tonight, that we were going to do something different and make it all change, and I was feeling suicidal. Well, maybe not suicidal, ladies and gentlemen, but I took myself off into town to get out of the oppressive four walls of the house after doing a bit of editing for this week's videos, which will be coming up on the Bald Explorer page, and I couldn't shift this sort of weird, depressing mood. It seems to have lifted now. I think maybe the pressure is off or something. But are you somebody who gets affected by the weather? And if so, do tell me about it. I'd be fascinated to know. Emil Chem says, I was just saying that I can do some reports as I visit places ready for trips. Oh, well, that would be absolutely fantastic, Emil. That would be, sorry, Emily. I'm reading Emil, and your name's Emily, isn't it? I'm so sorry. I do that from time to time. I do apologise. I will read your name wrong, but it's not deliberate. Jonathan says, I've sent this message at 8:20 exactly, and I'm reading it now at 8:21. So there we go. That seems to be about a minute late. But anyway, at least we've got that. We had rain this afternoon in Saltdean. Now, thank you, Claire. Talking of Saltdean, I made a bit of a cock-up today. There's a lady called Libby Darling. That's her name. That's her real name. I don't think she's related to Alistair Darling, but you never know. Anyway, she's, from all accounts, she's a very nice lady, and she's involved in the Saltdean and Rottingdean beach clean-ups. It's a bunch of volunteers who go out and clean up the beach, and sometimes they have a festival at the end of it. So that's all very exciting. Now, I had made an arrangement to go and see her on Friday and talk to her and interview her for the show about what she does and what the group does and all that sort of stuff. Only because I'd written it down as Friday, and I get a phone call this afternoon saying, hello, it's Libby Darling. Hello, Libby Darling. She said, I said in reply, and she said, oh, hello, I'm meeting you today, aren't I, at 2:00. And I looked at my watch and it was about 2:15, and I said, no, Friday. I've got it down as Friday. No, we've got it down as Monday. And I thought, oh, no. And it was Monday, and I'd made a complete and utter cock-up. I do apologise for that. So even the Vobie one-eyed Kenobi can get a few things wrong. My name is pronounced Emily. Yes, I've got it now. Emily, I have got it, Emily. I do apologise for that. Excessive clouds and rain are a real downer for me, says Jennifer Stewart. And I think I'm sort of getting a bit sensitive to this thing. Emily, you've got Vobes. Yes, says Julia. It's true. I do apologise for that. There's a lot to think about, you see, when I'm in the studio doing all this sort of nonsense. Thinking about the next item, thinking about the video I've got to play up, thinking about the pictures we've got, thinking about trying to get to these things. I think Emily is a lovely name. In my TV series Snug and Cosy that we did in the mid-90s with my mate Nigel on Scottish television, although it was networked on ITV, children's ITV, Snug and Cosy. Cosy, you slimping slam slappert, you dopey flim flabber, you, I love you. Comedy nonsense about two space aliens from the planet Squodge. We befriended, these two aliens befriended this lovely little girl called Emily, and that was my creation, actually. I should just mention that just for good measure. So there we are. So I do, think I rate highly the name Emily. It's just sometimes when I see it spelt in a different way to how you told me it was spelt, I misread it as Emil or Emil. What did I call it? I can't even remember. Whatever it was I said to begin with, because I remember reading. Do you remember that book, Emil and the Detective? There's a children's book, French writer's children's book. And when I was a kid, I couldn't read it as Emil and the Detective. I kept reading it as Emily and the Detective, even though I knew that Emil was a boy, and I kept thinking it was a strange name, so I kept calling it Emily, and that's why now, when I see it spelt different... Anyway, I'm digging myself a massive, great big hole. When are you coming to Colombia, says ZP Camilo. I have no idea. I have no plans to go to Colombia, actually, but you never know. Could do, couldn't we? I love the bad weather when I'm out on an emergency call-out, says Paul Hine. I do like being in... It's the sort of foreboding first bit that affects me. When it's actually thunderstorms and the rain is pouring down, I'm absolutely fine. You go all French, Richard. Yeah, that is Malcolm Glazier. What is that? That wasn't French. Bonjour, monsieur, comment ça va? Très bien, merci beaucoup. I don't know whether that's is that the something appropriation that they're now saying is you are probably upset and offended people and probably be in jail now because I've done a French accent, which these days you've got to be careful you don't actually open your mouth because it's political correctness gone mad. Talking of politically correct, it would be about correct if we go and find out what's happened to Kevin Hall and see how he's getting on with his walk around Chichester Harbour. Kevin, where are you and what are you up to?
Hi Richard, here we are again. I'm just walking along the edge of the fields, which is right around that way, miles of it. And away in the distance is Chichester Cathedral, which is an amazing view from here. But Cynthia and I are heading towards Del Quay at the moment. She's disappeared off into the distance. I was walking along the water's edge, but had to come back up into the fields because it got very squishy. But still enjoying the walk. It's a lovely walk, hearing lots of birds, skylarks singing away. But we'll see how we get on in a little while. Catch you later.
Good stuff, Kevin. We love it. Carry on with the walk. Let us know when you get there. It'll be absolutely fantastic. What beautiful weather you have. Anyway, what beautiful weather. We'll catch up with Kevin a little bit later on in the show. Now, I had something else in the post today, and this I thought was great. This was really good. I had this little envelope arrive, and I was curious to what it was. And inside was a DVD or a CD-ROM. I wasn't quite sure. And then on the front of it, it said Tanzine, free CD, Tanzine. What could that possibly mean, I hear you cry? Well, there was also a little letter, or like a little note inside. And actually, it was a sort of single-sheet fan magazine for Nick Tan, Tanzine. I think it's very, very, very good. And he says, well, hello there. I'm getting sick and tired of the internet, so I thought I would try this old-fashioned approach, he says. I love getting letters, and I hope you do too, and it's a bit different. If for any reason you don't want me to send more than this, then let me know. So basically what he was doing, he runs, Nick Tan, the music man, he runs a podcast called Is This Thing On? And he plays music, other people's music. Occasionally he shoves his own music because he is a music man, you see. There he is in full glory singing his songs. And he's been on the show in the past, and I know Nick. We've done walks together. He's guested on here. He's a lovely bloke. And out the post came this DVD with his podcast on it, and an introduction, and then a track of his own music, which was fantastic to get. Now, I'm not going to play that on the show because I haven't got permission to do that or anything, but it was just an interesting approach to get a podcast on a CD. I have to think then what it was. What is this thing? Oh yes, it's a CD. To think what it was. So, but what I was interested, it made me think: are you listening to podcasts? And if so, which podcast do you know? Now, we have, of course, I do my own private podcast. If you're a supporter of the Bald Explorer, you will get, and you pay a tiny little amount of money, you will get the Naked Englishman podcast, which is a version of the show stripped down without thrills and spills. Admittedly, there's not very many thrills and spills in today's show, but it's a sort of behind the scenes of my my life. But also, we also support Richard Suggett's The Veg Grower podcast, and we like to find out what Richard is getting up to, and we've spoken about that, and he will be a guest. And actually, we're going to be coming from Richard's allotment in one of these live Vobes shows very soon to find out what is growing, and we may be cooking up something outside. It's going to be fantastic. I think that's next week. Next week is the 30th, if I remember rightly, so that's very exciting. Next Tuesday, if I think I may have got that right, Richard. So that would be good. So what podcasts, if any, are you listening to? That would be nice. Podcast on a CD is a new one, says Richard Suggett. I'm sure it's an expensive way of getting it out there, but I think it was just a way of getting noticed. Appledram Airfield, that is the place that Steve is vobing from. A former military airfield opened in 1943 and closed in 1944, situated on the south of Appledram on the east bank of Chichester Channel, between the Channel and the A286, says Paul. And he's this is Paul Hine, and he's got it says Seymour, plenty of C round there. So that's all very good. Are you listening to any podcast? Just looking. My mother used to tell me, mind your French. That's it, mind your manners as well. So if you're listening to any podcast, what would you recommend? Do you listen to the podcast from the BBC? That's quite interesting. I remember being interviewed by the BBC some time ago, and I was on their website, and then they wanted to do another feature, and I said, well, look, if you're going to do that, can I interview you and go round the BBC? And I did, on my podcast, The Vobes Show. I think it was in September or something like that, 2005. It was a long time ago. And I went round with this journalist who worked at the BBC, and I was podcasting away with my microphone, recording everything that he said, and he was taking me around the BBC. This is in Wood Lane, before they got rid of the Wood Lane studios. And so we went round there, and then we went into the scene dock. And in the scene dock was the very real, 100% genuine TARDIS. And it was just sitting there looking quite sorrowful, because it is actually a prop. It's not a real thing. And it was sitting in the scene dock. It had come back from Wales, where they'd been filming one of the new style Doctor Who's. That's quite when it was switching over. And Eccleston, what was his name? Christopher Eccleston was the first Doctor Who. And I think in that new coming back Doctor Who thing. And Chris Eccleston had just finished, I think, and they brought some of the stuff back. Anyway, the TARDIS was sitting there. And I said to the chap, I said, can I just go in the TARDIS? He said, yeah, of course, help yourself. Went in the TARDIS, called him in, and I podcast from inside the TARDIS. And I think to this day, I'm probably the only podcaster who has podcasts from Doctor Who's TARDIS, the real TARDIS that was used in films. And I did put a little bit out at the time. It was about 3 minutes long, that little sequence. And I put it out because there was a lot of podcasts about Doctor Who and this, that and the other. And I thought this would get my podcast noticed. And I put it out there on Twitter and all these things. Nothing. Nobody picked it up. The fact that, Richard Vobes, the most prolific podcaster at the time, most prolific podcaster, was podcasting from the BBC scene dock in the Doctor Who TARDIS. Nobody picked it up. It was so frustrating, but there we are. One of those things. But there we go. Jennifer Stewart says, I've only listened to you, Richard. And quite right, too. That's the way it should be. Well, I'm the only Vogue chap who's done Doctor Who, so there. So that's Mark English, who's actually been in Doctor Who. I'm just trying to think if ever I did any extra work on Doctor Who. I used to do a load of extra work on all sorts. I worked with Peter Davison. I've worked with Peter Davison, but that was on Campion. It wasn't on Doctor Who. So anyway, there we go. I've been in Blue Peter, says Steve Pilfold. Oh, in the Blue Peter Garden. Yes, I've been in the Blue Peter Garden as well, actually. I think I saw the gravestones where Shep and all the others are done. So it's all good fun. Right. What do we... Oh, yes. So next question then, as I said before, have you ever had a cup of tea with somebody you've never met before, who you've met through the internet? And what was it like? Tomorrow, the lovely Julia and I are going to meet up with a lady called Shirley, and Shirley is a great fan of the walking videos, and she just wanted to let me know that she enjoyed them so much, sent an email, and she said, oh, you must pop round for a cup of tea sometime. I thought that's very trusting of her to because I could be a mad fool, so I thought I better take a chaperone with me. So I asked the lovely Julia to make sure that, I behave myself, because I believe that the lovely Shirley, who we're going to see, is in her 80s, and I'm a single man now, you see, and I believe that Shirley Shirley's a single lady, so you never know. So the lovely Julia is going to make sure there's nothing untoward going on. Now, to prove that we've done this before and we met up with Downsland Michael, we have actually got a picture when we met Downsland Michael in the village house in Findon at the weekend. We went and had a quick beer with him. I do like to try and reach out with the lovely listeners where possible. Listeners? Viewers. I've got to keep thinking you as listening. You are listening, I realise that, but as viewers. So anyway, here we are. This was in the pub. As you can see, Downsland Michael is the one on the right-hand side with the beard. The one with the silly hat and the strange grin, that's me. And I haven't got the hat on, I beg your pardon. It's the lovely Julia who's got the hat on and the not quite so purpley hair, you may have noticed. But let me tell you, ladies and gentlemen, I have news that the lovely Julia, who, by the way, will be in the show tomorrow, will be here, ready to take your questions and arguments and points of view and all of that sort of stuff. She has had her hair freshly dyed. Freshly purplised, it has. It's been purplised. So I can't wait to see that. It'll be a vibrant, beautiful purple, which is the colour that we know and love her to have. So that's really exciting. But anyway, so it was lovely to see Downsland Michael and have a drink with him. And I hope to do more of that sort of thing as we progress, which will be absolutely fantastic, superb. So let's catch up and see what Kevin is up to and see if he knows where he's going. Where are you now, Kevin?
Hiya, Richard. We've just decided to stop and have a little bit of a break. So we're now in, or just short of arriving at Dell Quay, which is a little harbour. Anybody that knows this area, just trying to get round as steady as I can. And there is a pub down there with lots of jolly sailors getting ready for an afternoon out on the water, I'm assuming. But the weather's fine, the wind's still a little bit nippy, but we'll have some lunch and then carry on with our walk. We'll speak to you later. Bye-bye for now.
Fantastic. Well, you're nearly there. You're nearly out there. It's looking very nice. The scenery, I have to say, is looking particularly good. So that's thrilling. Well done, Kevin. Quite like these short little bursts of video, which they pepper the show very nicely. So if you fancy doing some Vobing reporting and bung them in the show, short and sweet like that is great. Of course, you can still do your Vobing reports and load them up to the Bald Explorer page group. For everybody to enjoy as well. So that's always good. If you're doing anything exciting, then do let us know. If you're not a member of the Bald Explorer group, by the way, you really should get there. It is a great community. This show is still broadcast there for this week, but then it's going to move to its own separate page. But that doesn't mean to say we don't care about you. We do. We still want you to post away onto that pictures and videos and comments and all those sort of things. Set up a poll if you want. You can put an umbrella on the top of the pole, I think, if it rains. I'm not quite sure how all of that works, but there we go. Let's go into the group then and see what you guys have been posting, because the sort of stuff that you've been posting, it's quite interesting. I get quite frustrated because you seem to be going to some fascinating places, far better than anywhere I've gone. And I'm looking for the group pictures. And I've just realised I haven't put them in the correct place. So it's going to be an interesting moment here because I've got to go and drag them across as we go. But that's okay. We can do that. I'm sure we can. So let's start with that one. Hang on, where are we starting from? Oh yes, here we go. This is a good one, ladies and gentlemen. He says quickly. I didn't prepare myself. I thought I was all prepared. You know what it's like. So let's start here. We haven't got the music on. There was a moment of panic there, ladies and gentlemen. Did you see how well I managed to panic? Oh, I'm a good panicker. This is the Ashcombe toll gate, and this one has been put up there by Glenn Johnson, who's been having a shufti around that. He seems to have gone out a few interesting places. I think you must have done this over the weekend. I'm not 100% sure. But it's a fascinating toll gate, and I've actually made a video about that some while ago, 2007 actually. So that was quite interesting. Now, you also, hang on, I'm just going to try and find the picture. You've also been somewhere else, and let's see if I can find the right picture. Here we go, I've got it now. Oh no, not that one. Wait a minute. Wait. I've got to. Oh, what's the matter with this? Hang on. Because I haven't prepared up. The operating system that I use is a very complicated system. It's free, you see, it's free, but it's clunky. Because it's free, it's clunky. So, where have I just put them? I just shoved them all in, and now they've all vanished. Oh, I know where they've got... No, where have they gone? I'll have to do it by hand again. Right, okay, Glenn, so you have now also gone... here, I'm just having a look. Sorry, I'm not looking at the questions, the comments at the moment. Apologies for that. So you've also gone here, which, according to... Oh, where did that go? Oh, it's gone into the camera, has it? Oh, that's why that's all gone a bit weird. All right. So this is in Winchelsea at one of the churches there, and I'm just looking to see what it was called. Oh, St. Thomas's Church. And what a lovely church that is. But you also went out... Let me just get over there. Here we go. I notice you went to this interesting place. And if I am right, because you didn't say where they were, and if I am right, that is the same bit of church on the Romney Marshes, I think. And I recognise that more from the fact that the the pylons are there stringing past, and I seem to remember walking through something like that. Am I right in thinking that, or have I got that wrong? I'm quite interested. Steve Pilford says it's the Ashcombe Toll. I'm just looking to see. Is Glenn out there? I don't know if Glenn's actually out there now. I can't remember if I've seen... I'm sure he is out there. Anyway, he'll tell us in due course if that is where I think it is. If not, then I apologise for that. Now, I can't get my camera back because... oh, there it is. There we go. I can get my camera back. I've just bunged everything into the wrong place, which is very annoying. So now, where has Steve Pilfold been? Let's have a look. I'm not too sure, but he has gone somewhere close to Stone Cross. What is that? A half a mile from Stone Cross. Half a mile from... I can't read all of that. Handham, it says, or Rickney, wherever Rickney is, and West something or other. Anyway, so when you do go out, it's always helpful to say where you are. But anyway, it's a lovely little finger post. I think there's a Facebook page devoted to finger posts, if I remember rightly, and I can't remember who operates it. Simon Brown has been out and about. He is not in Fairyland. Apparently, he's in Malvern. He does get around. I thought he was a very good hard worker, but it does seem that he's all over the place. Every time I look, Simon Brown is a lovely man. He put me up, and you'll notice tomorrow we're going to have some stuff with Simon Brown and Sharon Brown, but they're out and about on the Malverns at the moment, which is fantastic. So I'm very excited to see and get more of their posts coming through. Meanwhile, Nikki Jess has been in the garden doing some gardening, and she's noted that in her garden, I'm not quite sure, are you in London, Nikki? She's got some lovely flowers. If you're into flowers, check them out. I'm not very good at flower identification, unfortunately. Now, here we go. Mark Langham has been here. Now, there's a sort of bone of contention on this name because I think some people call it Beaver Castle and others call it Belvoir Castle because it's spelt Belvoir, but I'm also told that it's Beaver. Now, quite how you get to Beaver, I don't know. Or maybe that's just the drink people who make the cordial drinks who call themselves Beaver or Belvoir. I don't know. Somebody can perhaps tell me what that is, and that would be absolutely fantastic. Meanwhile, Judith Oakley has been to Montacute Garden in Somerset, and there are an array of interesting trees. I don't know what that one is. It's is it an oak? I don't know what that is. It's a fascinating tree. I love the way the arms, or the branches, the boughs are sticking out like great big, as if they're sort of about to... well, they're sort of sticking their arms out, aren't they? As if, as if they're sort of saying, "Hey, hello, and welcome," welcoming arms. That's what it is. That's what I'm trying to get to. I know what I'm trying to get to. So there we go. That's my little selection in the group. Now, because the group is part of the Bald Explorer group page, and you can join and become a member. It doesn't cost you anything. You just nip in there, and it's all very exciting. It's all free of charge. Somebody will let you in, which is great. I'm just looking at the comments to see if anyone's mentioned the correct pronunciation of that Belvoir or Beaver castle. It's a lovely looking castle, I have to say. I would like to go there. The bowels are ready for hugs. Yes, of course, Maggie. That's right. They are ready for hugs. And no doubt when the lovely Julia and I get back into Somerset, we'll go and find that, and we'll give that one a big hug. As long as the bows, come round and hug us back. That's the most important thing. We do like to be hugged back, of course. Right, cool. What are we doing? It's 12... No, it's not. It's 8:45, which is marvellous. So, tomorrow's film. There we are. I can do tomorrow's film. Have I put that in? I haven't put that in. What's going on? No, that's the wrong one. Tomorrow, ladies and gentlemen, I seem to have... I had about 15 minutes spare time before the show started, and I was pretty confident I'd got everything together, and clearly I've missed out some very important things. But don't let that worry you. Tomorrow, ladies and gentlemen, Simon Brown, Sharon Brown and myself are going to be having a traipse around the RSPB in Sandy in Bedfordshire, and that is where the headquarters of the Royal Society for the Protection of Birds is. And they have some fantastic grounds, and they have a wonderful lodge that you get to, and this beautiful old swimming pool that's been turned into a duck pond. Yeah, it's quite remarkable. Anyway, it's in 2 parts, so tomorrow being Tuesday and Wednesday being the next day, you'll be able to follow our escapades as we go through the area in Sandy in Bedfordshire, and we look for an Iron Age hill fort. We looked for an old sand quarry, and then I find a tree and fall over, and then we find the lodge. So it's and also I think we're looking for what are they? Something Jack Toad, Munter Jack Toad. No, I can't remember what she said now. Funny toads. Anyway, toads in Toad Hall. No, in ponds. What are they called? Munter Jack, something Jack. Maybe not. Maybe they're not called Jack. Maybe they're called something else. I don't know what they're called, to be honest with you. Anyway, they are toads, which is... where am I going now? Let's close that window for a start. Yay to Beaver, says Emily. Yay to Beaver. So it is definitely Beaver. So why is it spelt Belvoir? That's what I would like to know. That's the curious thing. Beaver gets my bevote, says Richard Suggett. Sharon looks ticked off in that picture. Yeah, well, we had to put her in her place, to be honest with you, because she was giving us chapter and verse about, all the history of it. And Simon and I were a bit... No, of course not. I don't know why. Munter Jack. Yeah, that was it. Munter Jack Toads. I knew it was something Jack. I wasn't really paying any attention. I'm holding a camera and trying to, think where we're going next, and then people are talking to me. It's very annoying. He lies. Oh, Natterjack. There we go. Natterjack. I don't know. Jack in the Box toads, for all I care. They're like frogs, oversized frogs with deeper croaks. That's what they are. Yes. Anyway, I'm sure they're very nice. But we looked at ponds where they live. So it's all terribly exciting. It really is. I can't wait for you to see it. And I bet you can't wait to see it either. Let's find out what Kevin's up to. Now, I can't remember which version of the video I put on there the last time. Let's see. Is this the same one? I may be playing the same bit twice. I do hope I don't. Anyway, where are you, Kevin? And how's it going?
We've moved on a bit round on our walk. We've picked up the second leg of the Saltons Way. And as we've come round, we've got this lovely rapeseed field, which is obviously on its way out, but Cynthia's there just having a look to see if she can see the cathedral. But as we've come along, we found this notice board, and it's all about the Appledram airfield, or the forgotten airfield. And there was 3 squadrons of Hawker Typhoons that were here at Appledram in June 1943. And you can hopefully see what is on there. if I keep the camera still long enough, you'll be able to read it. So there's a bit of information which obviously I wasn't aware of in this area. So that's quite interesting to find that, which we'll be sending to you later on to post on the live shows. Thank you very much. Bye-bye for now.
So there's another place, Appledram, or whatever it was Kevin said there, and yet it's spelled Appledram. So it's funny, isn't it? Words are so, people spell things in such a way and then pronounce them differently. And I noticed just now that somebody's saying that Towchester or Towcester is pronounced toaster. I didn't know that. Is it really pronounced toaster? I'm going to toaster. That doesn't sound quite right. Of course, Simon Brown says they were crackerjack toads, which, yes, I think they were crackerjacks. Friday, it's 5 o'clock. It's time for crackerjack toads. And why not? So there, my roses come from Appledram nurseries. So now, see, you're spelling that Appledram as opposed to a Puldrum, which is what it was spelt on there. So sorry, folks, you couldn't read it, says Kevin. But thank you, Kevin. We've got one more little report from you before we say goodbye. However, I want to talk about phones now. We said at the beginning, are you addicted to your phone? And I know that Anne said that she was addicted to her tablet. I've lost the page now on my phone. Here we go. So let's have a look here. I'm addicted to my tablet, says Anne Osborne. Ian Beddoes says, do you press A or B to start a smartphone? I've no idea what you're talking about. That's Ian Beddoes. Nigel Sadler says, given the chance, I'll mess with my phone, like now, while on the train to London, but I can put it down and leave it when I want to. It's getting my kids off their phones that is the challenge. You'd think I was trying to amputate their right arm. Well, this is true, and I think that it's not just children, though. It's not that children are just sort of mesmerised by tablets and the big screen, but I also think, I find that I used to be very good with smartphones, and I could resist the bleep. But you're running something like the Bald Explorer and now the Vobes show and all the things that I'm up to. It's people are putting messages on the Facebook, and I get notifications on my phone, and it's like, oh, what's that? And I go to have a look, and then it's something that I actually wasn't needed to know about. But it is annoying, isn't it, that you get these bleeps and you go over and you're expecting something, and then there's a disappointment. So although it may be your endorphins giving you some sort of reward, at the same time I'm getting frustrated because I keep getting notified for things that I don't actually need to be notified about. Now, keep looking down there, because I did do one show where I had turned the microphone down and everyone was trying to notify me, but they couldn't notify me. Nick Edwards says, yes, I'm definitely addicted to my phone. Otherwise, I wouldn't be watching your most exquisite show, sir. Well, that's, of course. I was going to say, the phone, you see, does so much, so that when people, these toffee-nosed people say, oh, of course, people are addicted to their phones, blah, blah, blah. But the phone does so much. That's the great thing. You can have an ongoing conversation with people on your phone, and that's very exciting. And I do that with numerous people, have an ongoing conversation, which is great. But also, I use my phone to watch things like YouTube or listen to podcasts. And so even when I'm cooking, I will set it up on the side and I'm cooking, and I no longer put Radio 4 on, which is very remiss of me, because I used to listen to Radio 4 all the time. Intelligent speech, I think that's what they call it, intelligent speech. So that's good. Josh doesn't think this is live. Can you say hi, Josh? Oh, right, okay. This is a message from Matthew Holdsworth to me via the lovely Julia, who says, and I'm sorry it's a bit late, this came on at 8:11, says, can you say, he doesn't think it's live, can you say hi, Josh? Yes, I can, and yes, I just have. So there we go. That's from Matthew Holdsworth. So it is live. I hope you've managed to get that show, and I do apologise. The thing is, it's like I've been very well trained to turn my mobile phone onto silence when you walk into a studio. Of course, when people are trying to contact you about the show you're doing, that doesn't help if the phone is on silent. Maybe I should put it on vibrate in the future. Oh, hang on, I've got a message. I've got another message here. says, get on with it, LOL. That's another message. When did that come in? Monday, that's 8:53. Oh, so there we go, look. That's just come in. I won't show you that because it's got a whole load of other stuff on it, so you've got to be a bit careful. Mobile phones will never catch on, we said back in the day. Well, it's like so many things. Mind you, didn't we say we would be wearing all these Google glasses? I remember a while ago that we would have all this stuff, and I don't think that we are doing that anymore. People have got watches and things, but some of these wearables, we all said, oh, well, they won't catch on, and I don't think they have. Mobile phone, oh, I read that. Malcolm Glazer says, no, I don't have a smartphone. I have a basic one that does the job for me, which only cost me 80p from EE. Sorry, I'm old school at the moment. Well, when the lovely Julia and I met up with Downland Michael, he only had a very old phone, and I was impressed, and I kind of did think I wish I didn't have to have, a smartphone, although mine is I'll tell you this, mine is a Samsung, what is it? Galaxy 5. So I'm well behind the trend. It does enough. I don't need it to do these things. I would like the quality of the recording a bit better. That would be the basic thing. Hang on, phones are mobile now, says Jonathan. Yes, they're mobile. You can take them with you if you've got a long enough lead and a big enough aerial. Then you're all right. So that's all good. Let's see what Kevin. Let's get the last of Kevin's report, seeing as he said get on with it. We'll see what he's up to. Kevin, finish off your series of reports. Where are you and how have you done?
Hi Richard, this is Kevin and Cynthia again. We're at the end of our walk now and we're sitting in a bird hide. Hopefully going to see some lovely birds, but we're not holding out much hope. We have seen a mallard and a coot or a moorhen I think. But that's about it. But it is a lovely view, as you can see. We've had a lovely walk around the marina and round into Dell Key. So we'll be going for a cup of coffee now. And so we'll be signing off as your Vobing reporters on this Sunday afternoon. We'll catch up with you soon. Okay then, bye-bye for now.
Well, there we go. Thank you very much, Kevin, for that. That was lovely. We managed to get a lovely stroll in throughout the show, and I haven't left the studio once. Superb. How's that possible? It's amazing. In tomorrow's show, ladies and gentlemen, the lovely Julia will be here, and we're going to be asking you, have you recently been on a picnic? And if you've been on a picnic, what do you take on your picnic? Get your answers ready for tomorrow. And also, what picnic food do you think is the best to take? I'd be interested in that. We're also asking, have you been to a farm shop recently? And have you tried, what is the most exotic things that you've bought from a farm shop? Or what was it like? Where was it? Were you impressed? Have you tried purple carrots? The lovely Julia bought some purple carrots, and she'll tell you something about purple carrots in tomorrow's show and whether they were successful or not, because she cooked them in a lovely roast, and actually I was there when she did it, so I can tell you whether that was good or bad. So that's one of the questions. And there was a number of other questions. I can't remember what they were off the top of my head. We've got some questions. We may get some other points for it, but of course you can set the agenda. If you've got something burning you want to discuss, then why not set the agenda in the Vobes show? We will be here from the Bald Explorer page again tomorrow. Same place, same time. But we will move it, as I say at the beginning of the show, we will move it to its own page, the Vobes show. So you'll have to like the page, I think, to get notified. But I will copy the show across every day so that you get to see it. So that's all good. EE calls are free to other EE phones, says Kevin Hall, which is all good. Steve Pilford says, I find it rude when checkout staff are discussing the timings of their next breaks with each other while I'm being served. Yes, I completely agree. You know, I think sometimes we could set a whole show on service, couldn't we? Bad service, good service. Have you been somewhere where there's been some good service or bad service? That would be good. Anne Evans says, what about the teddy bears picnic? Well, Anne, what would you pack for teddy bears at their picnic? Save that for tomorrow, but for now we have to go. When you hear this music, you know it's time for the old Vobie One-Eyed Kenobi to disappear into his little pot. So join us again tomorrow. Hope you've enjoyed the show today. It's been a hoot. Sorry about all the changes and stuff. Everything will get bedded in, I'm sure, in the next few days. Not much has changed, really. It's just where it's going to be posted. That's about it. But more fun and games. More fun and games. We may even have a quiz or two. Who knows? Anything can happen on the Vobes Show. Until tomorrow, thank you so much for coming along. Look after yourselves. Take care, one and all. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you tomorrow with the lovely Julia with her new purple hair. Until then, goodbye, goodbye.